All right, so what we are looking at here is we are looking at 2.4, solving equations with variables on each side. So we've always looked at equations where we've put the variables always on one side of the equal sign. But now what we're going to do is we're going to put variables on both sides of the equal sign. We're going to stay with the same variable for right now. So we're always going to, if it's x on one side, it's going to be x on the other side. If it's m on one side, it'll be m on the other side. So our goals are going to be solve equations with variables on each side and solve equations involving grouping symbols. Okay. The first thing we're really going to focus on is equations with variables on each side. The grouping symbols we'll also talk about, and we'll talk about with those with variables on both sides. We've also looked at solving equations with grouping symbols. So we're going to expand. So again, all you got to do at the top of your paper, write 2.4, solving equations with the variables on each side. So how I like to break these down is I like to give you hints for solving. Hint 1, get rid of brackets. So if you have to distribute, all that stuff, right? And for this one, you're going to have to distribute. You can't just divide. So you got to make sure when you see brackets, anything that you need to distribute, get rid of those by distributing. Step 2, collect like terms on individual sides. So think of each side of the equal sign as its own expression. Combine like terms before you start solving. Step 3, look to collect variables on one side first. So you want to move whatever variable is, you want to move it to one side. You always want to try to keep it positive. Sometimes leaving it negative is going to be easier, but most of the time, try to keep the variable positive. Try to keep the coefficient in front of the variable positive. Next step, collect constants. So after you move your variables, now we want to move the constants, the numbers without the variables. We want to move those to the opposite side the variables are on. And then step 5, move coefficient on the variable away from the variable. So this is where you got to either multiply or divide to get rid of that number there. So I recommend you to pause this so that you can write down these. These steps are going to help you out because I'm not going to leave this up for a long time. So I do recommend you to pause this so that you can finish writing this down. All right, so let's take a look at some examples, what I'm talking about. Step 1, get rid of any brackets. Are there any brackets? No. Step 2. I forgot step 2. Good job, Mr. Harris. Step 2, collect like terms on individual sides. So if we look, if we cover up the 3k minus 6, 2 plus 5k, we can't combine those. If we cover up 2 plus 5k, 3k minus 6, we can't combine those. Step 3, let's combine our variables on one side, and we want to keep them positive. So we have a 5k on the left and a 3k on the right. Well, we need to figure out which way we can move it to keep it positive. Well, 3 is less than 5, I'm subtracting, so we're going to subtract 3k. So we're going to take this 3k, we're going to subtract it from the right, because that's going to make this 3k go away. And then we're going to subtract 3k from the left, all right? Because the k's are matching, we're going to take 3k from 5k, not from 2. So that leaves us with 2 plus 2k, because 5k minus 3k is 2k, equals that negative still with that 6, negative 6. Next, we are going to subtract 2 from the left, subtract 2 from the right. On the left, they go away, leaving us with 2k equals negative 8. And then our last step, get rid of the coefficient, divide by 2, divide by 2, k equals negative 4. Boom. We solved an equation with variables on both sides. So you see the steps are all the same. It's just like solving with a variable on one side, just now we've got a couple added steps and we've got to move the variable. We can always check by plugging in negative 4 back into our original problem. So if I did that, I'd have 2 plus 5 times negative 4. And then I also have 3k or 3, let's move this guy out of the way. 3 times negative 4 minus 6. So let's just do some quick math. 2 plus negative 20. This is negative 18. Negative 12 minus 6. Negative 12 minus 6 is negative 18. So I did it correctly. Again, you can always check to see if you did this correctly. All right. So what I want you to do now is these two down here, I want you to try these two on your own. All right, so this is your on your own. I know it doesn't say on your own, but this is your on your own. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video now and try these two problems on your own. So again, you should be pausing the video now. All right, so for these ones, we got two fractions. Fractions do work. So for the first one, we should have gotten 1/2 equals W, or W equals 1/2. I just did the simplification, 2 over 4, both divisible by 2, simplified it to be 1/2. The one on the right, you should have gotten A equals 1/3. Should have gotten 4 divided by 12, and I just simplified 4 over 12 to 1/3 because they're both divisible by 4. The steps, again, the same. Run through those 7 steps that I gave you. Right? Run through them as you're solving. Look to see, is there any brackets to get rid of? Anything like that. So run through those steps. Keep those steps next to you while you're working on these. Just like with the other problems, like the sloth, solving equations slow and steady. Think about step by step. If you get rushing too much, you will make mistakes. I do the same thing. Here's those same problems on your own. I don't know why I created this screen. Just ignore this screen. All right, let's look at another example. It looks like there's a lot going on here. All right, but if we run through our steps, step 1, get rid of any brackets, any distribution. Nope, there's no distribution. Step 2, combine like terms on each side. So if we cover up the 7x minus 18, we have 4x minus 3 minus 2x. Well, if we look, the 4x and the minus 2x, those are like terms. So we're going to combine those. So 4x minus 2x is 2x minus 3. Minus 3 has nothing to combine with. Equals 7x minus 18. There's nothing to combine over there. So I'm just going to rewrite it. And now I have my basic equation with variables on both sides. So now I'm going to look to move my variables first, trying to keep it positive. So I'm going to subtract 2x, subtract 2x. Negative 3, that minus goes with the 3, equals 5x minus 18. Then we're going to add 18 to both sides, add 18 to both sides. You get negative 15. Oh, nope, that's a positive 15. I apologize. You get a positive 15 equals 5x. Then we divide by 5, and we get 3 equals x. So this one had an added step where we had to combine those like terms on one side of the equal sign before we started solving. And sometimes you have to combine on one side, sometimes both sides there's like terms to combine. And then we just follow through, we go through with our steps. Again, take those steps, those hints I gave you for solving, and follow them along. All right, so what I would like you to do now is I would like you to pause the video. I want you to pause the video. And I want you to try these two on your own. Again, slow and steady. Think about your steps. I'll give you a hint. Step 1, there are no brackets. Step 2, combine like terms on each side. There is going to be some like terms you're going to need to combine. So that's my hint for you. So again, please pause the video now so that you can try these on your own. All right, so hopefully on your own, for the left, you should have gotten y equals 2. And on the right, you should have gotten negative 3 equals x. And so there's both sides had like terms that you needed to combine. Make sure, again, it's not always just on one side. Make sure you look to combine your like terms before you start going. All right, so we're going to pause right now. So we're not going to talk about solving with grouping. We're actually going to pause with what we're doing right now. And then we're going to apply what we just talked about. Okay, so if you have any questions, make sure you write them down. You know, as you're looking at these notes and you're like, oh man, that one really, I'm confused on this part. Make sure you write it down, because I bet you if you have a question, I bet you there's at least a handful of other students that have the exact same question.